we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our RTAP bi-monthly webinar series. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kara, and I am the RTAP director. Please feel free to go ahead and add your names and agencies in the chat box so we can all get acquainted. And in the meantime, I will go over some housekeeping rules before introducing our speaker. So please remember to keep yourself muted during the duration of the presentation, and we will do a Q&A session at the end. If you do have questions during the presentation, feel free to drop those in the chat box and we will address them as soon as we can. So today we have Kansas Mobility Manager Michelle Coates joining us. Michelle is the mobility manager for North Central Kansas and works closely with all of the public transportation providers in Saline, Ottawa, Cloud, Republic, Jewell, Mitchell, Lincoln, and Ellsworth counties. She has worked in public transit since 2016 and has helped to establish the 81 Connection fixed route, the Kansas Rides website, CanCycle Regional Bike Sharing, the Moving Kansas Network, the Salina Mobility Working Group, and the Saline County Food Action Community Team, and a lot more. She is also skilled in organization, planning, social media, marketing, public relations, website development, networking, travel training, and multi-mobility. She is most passionate about combining mobility with preserving rural living. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle as she talks about Kansas Mobility Week.
Thank you for that introduction, Kara. Hi, everybody. We're going to run through some slides and talk about Kansas Mobility Week. Hopefully you're familiar with it and know a little bit about it, but we're really looking to expand it so that it is more statewide than it has been, get more agencies, more communities, and more counties working towards awareness and education around mobility in Kansas. So Kara did a great introduction for me, so we'll kind of skip over this slide. I have been working in public transit since 2016. I've worked on a lot of really great, really fun projects. Mobility Week is just one of those. And I always like to talk about the other mobility managers across the state because we do work in partnership with each other, and that's how we're able to do kind of some of these larger scale activities. So there are 7 of us right now. We each have our own areas that we cover. We work within our areas, but then we also work with each other regionally as well as across the state. And if you are in an area that does not have a mobility manager, feel free to reach out to one of us and we can provide some guidance on how that you can get your own. So here's our fun team right now. So I'm in North Central, Mike Spatafor is in Topeka, Shawnee County, Dre is in Lawrence, Douglas County, Robin is in the northeast corner of the state, Mike Wilson is in the Flint Hills region, so Manhattan, Junction City, north to Nebraska. Jessica covers South Central, so Wichita and the surrounding area, and Misty is in East Central, and she covers Emporia all the way east to Missouri. So what is Mobility Week? So it's really a celebration of making smart, efficient, and safe multimodal public transportation choices. So when you think about mobility, yes, it includes public transportation, but it's really anything that is related to mobility and ways of people getting around. So of course, we want to make sure that we're including multimodal options in that. So walking and biking, which are very important to first mile, last mile access. We do want cities, counties, and transportation partner agencies to host events to promote transportation, highlight achievements. It's always a great way to roll out new initiatives or policies or services or different things that you have going on. And together as a group, we're raising awareness around safe, accessible, and inclusive transportation all across the state. And really, we want to make sure that we understand that the why is really about building awareness. Because even though transit has been around for a while in the state, there are still individuals that don't realize what's available to them. So this is one example of a flyer that we have that you're able to take and share in your community if you have a place to do that. It does have the QR code that leads you directly to the website where people can sign up to participate. So why does Mobility Week matter for agencies? So of course we talked about the public awareness piece, but we also do the branding, and that just helps elevate everyone's visibility across the state. We have one logo for Mobility Week, but then on information that we send out, we have everyone's participating logos. And so we want to make sure that people are getting out and getting to see those agencies and who's participating. It's great for community engagement. So it helps with your existing riders, but also non-riders and other people in your community. So stakeholders, agencies that you work with, different things, which leads right into partnerships. So working with your local cities and counties, health departments, other nonprofits, schools, employers, because we all know how important transit is and how it helps people get different places. It also helps with equity and accessibility goals. So you can show how mobility is more than just transit, that it really does mean access to jobs, health, and education. And then you can also use the week to test. So you can gather ridership data, you can solicit feedback, you can test promotions or different things like that. So not only is it about that awareness piece, but you can also use it within your agency to gather feedback and data. So there's lots of great reasons why it's important for agencies all across the state to participate. You could kind of pick one of those areas, or you could do multiple. So who can participate in Mobility Week? There are really no restrictions. So of course we want transit agencies to participate, but then we also want others. So any organizations within a community that support transit can do a display, they can do an event. There's really no limits on who can participate. We do want communities to participate, local businesses, coalitions, advocacy groups, individuals. So really everyone is able to participate in whichever way they would like, whether that's hosting an event, attending an event, riding transit, just doing something to support Mobility Week. So 2025 is our 5th year doing this. So I just wanted to highlight what we did in 2024. So we had 63 events, which was 41 agencies in 45 counties with our 7 mobility managers. And so we like to show visually what portions of the state participated. So you can see that we're not quite 50%. There's 105 counties in Kansas. We had 45 counties participate last year. So that's increasing from all of the previous years, but we still have a long ways to go in getting truly statewide mobility. So if you know people in some of these gray counties that did not participate last year, if you reach out to them, share information that we're talking about, and have them participate in some way, that would be really great. 2 statewide events that we did in 2024, we worked with the governor's office and we were able to get a proclamation where she proclamated that November, the first week of November 3 through 9 was Kansas Mobility Week. And so that's really great that we have that, kind of leadership that is showing how important this is across the state. We also did a photo challenge. So anyone that's using, transit or active transportation, so walking, biking, rolling, whatever that looks like, if they take a photo and post it to social media with our Kansas Rides hashtag, then we can pick them up in our photo challenge. So we've done that for a couple of years. We haven't had as many photos as we would like. We've had a handful. So really we would look for agencies to help us promote this, to get people involved in that, because really those visuals are very important for us when we are building impact reports or talking about the good that we do as mobility managers, as transit agencies, and how we work together with communities to get people where they go. Having those photos really tells those stories better than we can just by talking about it. So having this as an option, is a great way to bring awareness to Mobility Week, but also takes us a couple steps further than that and provides us with some data and some information that we can share. So I also wanted to highlight a few other agencies that participated last year. So this is Add-A-Bus out of Manhattan Junction City. They did free fares all week. They posted information on their social media pages with these graphics. They also highlighted free rides to vote on election day that falls during that week. They also had a survey that they were putting out that week as well. And then we also did a field trip to Add-A-Bus with a group of transit agencies and mobility managers, and that was during Mobility Week also. So this was a great example of how they used information and shared that on social media, and then we also did other activities as part of it. OCCK also participated in Mobility Week last year, and so they were actually able to do a few things. They launched their brand new OCCK On Demand, which is their microtransit service. They launched that on Monday, November 4th, so that was really exciting that we were able to launch that service as part of Mobility Week. They also did free rides for Election Day on Tuesday that week. And then I was able to partner with them by providing 3 different travel training classes that week. We did 2 at the Senior Center and we did 1 over Zoom. So this is another great way of showing the different things that you can do during Mobility Week. You can do free rides, but you can also do other things that bring awareness to your agency or teach the public about mobility. So I was also able to do a couple of extra things that week too, that I've done for a couple of years now. So we were able to do free rides on Can Cycle, which is our regional bike sharing program. We have a promotional code that's good for that entire week. So anyone could go and ride a bicycle in those 10 communities at any time during the week. And then I've also partnered with our local museum, the Smoky Hill Museum, and we did a Santa Fe stroll, which is just a walk. We meet at noon at the steps of the museum. The museum team leads the walk, and we talk through historical. This one was historical buildings in downtown Salina. So it's another great partnership, but it's also promoting active transportation, getting people out, getting them moving and learning and communicating with others. Twin Valley had a fun little celebration with their drivers. So they did some driver recognition. So I love their sign with their balloons. They had shirts for the drivers as well as little gift bags. So just another quick little fun thing that they did that's different from other activities. Cali County did free rides to the polls, and then they also took these photos and shared them on their social media. Over in Ellsworth County, they did a community display in their local health department. So I worked with them. We created a poster and a couple of flyers. We handed out some information. And so that was a great way, and it kind of an easy and inexpensive way for them to participate. Flo is the office manager the dispatcher, and sometimes driver. So she doesn't always have a lot of time to be out of the office, but this still gave her an opportunity to participate, share information with the community, and talk about mobility. So those were some ways that agencies participated last year. I didn't go through everyone, but here are some other or more ways that you can participate. We've talked about a few of these already. So of course you can easily do a transit ride free day. We make sure that election day is during that week. So that's kind of an easy one. Agencies have been doing free rides for election day for a while, but now we can brand that as Mobility Week. You can do a mobility fair or an open house. You can host a public event. You can do something simple like Flo did with a table in your local health department. You can showcase demand response. So you can allow people to book or ride and then give them an opportunity to see how that works, especially if they're not like a normal rider, or if you have a stakeholder or an elected official or someone like that that needs to understand how your transportation system works. You can also hold contests or challenges. A couple of things that I have seen. You can have a contest where you have people post photos and you vote on the best multimodal commute. You could do something around the most walks in a week. You could do ride-alongs or guided tours where either your mobility manager or other staff accompany people on your transit service, just to kind of talk through, again, how it works. Of course, you can do media and public outreach. So press releases, sharing information with your media, and then that could lead to radio spots or TV spots also. I do have a pretty large, extensive media list that I send out whenever we're doing some type of event, and we have had both radio and TV pick those up. And then, of course, you can also do workshops or webinars. So any of the mobility options could be on transportation, could be on biking. You could work with your local planning departments. You know, they're really, the sky is the limit on what information you're providing this week. I've also had the opportunity to work with our friends down in Oklahoma. They have a mobility management program down there, and we like to share ideas back and forth. They actually took on Mobility Week last year and are doing it again this year. And so I wanted to share some of the things that they have been doing. I thought this was really fun. LATS is an agency in Oklahoma, and they actually did a scavenger hunt with their bouncy rock. So they had someone create a little rock and they hid it at various places in their community. They gave some clues on their social media pages, and then they let people find it. And then they also worked with local businesses to provide gift cards to the winners. So this was just kind of a fun little activity. It kind of checked all the boxes. So it was during Mobility Week. It got people paying attention to their social media pages, got people out and about, got them excited about an activity, and then also gave them prizes that they were then, again, able to share on their social media pages. So I thought that was really fun and really unique and interesting. Some of the other ideas that they shared in Oklahoma was that riders could nominate their favorite drivers. They could play a mobility mythbusters game to bust transit myths. They talked about doing a transit tailgate, park and ride with hot dogs and other giveaways. Looked at bus stop beautification or mural projects. I know a lot of communities in Kansas have murals. So this is just another way of including that into transit. They gave some fun handouts for the drivers to give riders. Stickers are really big right now. And so there were some ideas for some transit stickers. Drivers and passengers also like buttons and pins. So you could do something around that to give out kindness cards. And Mobility Week punch cards was another idea that they had, where each time someone rides, they get a punch. If they have so many rides, then they get a prize. You could also have where you display different cards about why I ride, or different posters in either your buses, your transit business, or even other businesses in your community, to just showcase transit all across your community. So again, like lots of kind of simple ideas, either low cost, mid cost, kind of depending on what you're looking at. But also a lot of community engagement. So working with other agencies, working with other people in your community, and making things fun. So I wanted to take a break to see if we had any ideas. Does anyone have any ideas of their own that they've thought of, or things that they have heard about, then that you would be willing to share with the group? And I would say just go ahead and unmute yourself if you would like to share an idea.
Michelle,
Yes.
this is Emily from Sedgwick County. We are in conversations right now about doing like veteran rides for the month of November. Do you
Yep.
have any familiarity, or can you share some ideas that other counties have done?
So I think we have done, depending on how the week falls. So Veterans Day is sometimes in Mobility Week, sometimes it's not. It just depends on how the dates fall. So there have been some agencies that do free rides specifically for Veterans Day. So that's been one option. There's been other agencies that have done free rides for the entire month, and they announce it during Mobility Week. So I think it's just kind of really depends on what your goals are and what you want to accomplish, and then how can we work it into Mobility Week.
Okay, that's helpful. Sedgwick County prides themselves on being very veteran centric.
Sure.
And so what we've initially talked about is offering rides to vets for the entire month, but I'm not like, I don't know how it's being funded in other areas. And so that's also one of my questions. And maybe you could put me in communication with, who's done it, and I could work with them.
Yes. So I know Northeast Kansas Area Agency on Aging, last year they did free rides for all of November. I'm not sure how they funded that, but yes, I can get you in contact with them. I know other agencies that I work with, Republic County Transportation, they do free rides all year long, and they have a local funder that they work with. So I could put you in contact with them also.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Sure. I'll make a note. Does anyone else have any ideas? Is there something that you're thinking about doing, or something that you have done? I would love to hear from more people. And maybe I know I've got a couple of my agencies on here. So Colleen, do you want to talk about what you're doing?
Well, for Mobility Week, right now, what I've got going is I am going to go to the senior center and speak about what we do, why we do it, and let people know that it's not just for seniors, that it's for the whole community. And hopefully through that, then we can get some more riders. We have picked up a couple more. So, I mean, it's going slow, but we have picked up a few more people and that sort of thing. So that's what we're hoping to do here.
Great. Thank you. All right. So I've got a few more slides to talk through. So we can now kind of talk and shift over to Mobility Week 2025. So I don't know about you guys, but I was surprised that today is already October 1st. So we are just about a month out from Mobility Week 2025. So it will be November 2nd through 8th this year. So Election Day does fall during that week on Tuesday. Veterans Day unfortunately falls in kind of that next week. But again, like, you know, we can figure out ways that we can be creative to brand things as Mobility Week events. So we've worked on a couple of flyers for 2025. So we're happy to share these out. You know, we appreciate if everyone shares things on your social media pages, in your emails, or other ways that you communicate with your passengers about Kansas Mobility Week. Also, if you could share that with other agencies in your communities, or like I mentioned, you know, if you know other counties that were not participants last year, we would, you know, love to have as much and as many activities as possible. And again, this flyer with a QR code takes you directly to the sign up page for Mobility Week. We are going to do, again, another photo challenge this year. And so we'll ask you all to share and even participate in this. There's really no restrictions on who is able to participate. So if you yourself, we would want you, of course, to either use transit or some type of active transportation that week, but also share that with your teams. So your drivers, other people in your agencies, really like get people excited about this. It's really easy to take a photo. And then kind of the hardest part is actually posting that to social media and using the hashtag, which is Kansas Rides 2025. But we'll be sending this out as well. So we hope that we get a lot of people to take advantage of this. Again, because I mentioned how important it is that we have kind of that visual record of people in Kansas using transit. And then we can use these photos and share them. And Kara, you can kind of talk too about how important it is to have photos within the state, because I know you guys have a photo library, but this is another just great way to build that up. So really kind of the purpose of this is for you to get involved in Mobility Week this year. So I would challenge each of you to commit to participating with at least one event or activity. And I've given you a lot of different ideas for those. So it can be very small. You know, it could be handing out stickers. It could be having a display or doing a presentation. It could be having people ride your vehicles, talk through different things. Like really, there is no real rules around what the events are. So I'm challenging each of you to participate with at least one. I would also like you to register your event or activity on our Kansas Rides website. So that's www.ksrides.org. There is a page for Mobility Week. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the registration form on there. You could also work with someone within your organization to kind of be your coordinator to help with the details of the event, because it would be helpful for you to have marketing and communications planning. Think about your evaluation metrics. So what would make your event feel successful to you, and how do you gauge that success? And then, of course, making sure that you're taking photos of your events that are taking place and that you share those with the mobility manager team, because we do put together an annual report on Mobility Week. We share those photos, and we really want to talk about the impact of Mobility Week and what it's doing to increase awareness in transit across the state. So that's kind of your to-do list for today. So hopefully you're kind of thinking about what you could do, how you're going to do it, and then how you're going to take photos and measure your impact. And I've mentioned this a few times, but also sharing or liking other agencies' social media posts. Especially, we've got Kansas Rides on Facebook. You can go and follow other agencies across the state, and that might be a great way of us staying connected with each other and sharing information and help getting the word out more. I know I've mentioned Twin Valley, Ellsworth County is OCCK, Adabus. They're all on Facebook, so you could go and follow all of them. Any posts that you're using, if you use the hashtag Kansas Rides 2025, again, encourage others to participate in the photo contest. You participate yourself. Share the word with city officials, your partners, your friends, your family, and then print and share the Mobility Week flyers and the photo contest. And really, like, it's just sharing the word as much as we can. So again, just to kind of wrap up, so when is Mobility Week 2025? It happens the first full week of November, which is November 2nd through 8th. Where is it happening? It's really happening in any community, any agency, any county across the state that wants to promote mobility options and transportation resources. How do you sign up? Go to the Kansas Rides website, ksrides.org. Go to the Mobility Week page. How do you share updates about your local efforts? So make sure that you're taking photos of your events and then track your metrics, and we'll ask for that information after Mobility Week is over. You want to participate in the photo contest. It's super simple. You take a photo of yourself, post it on social media with the Kansas Rides 2025 hashtag. And then if you need help or you have questions, so you can either visit the Kansas Rides website, you can look back at all the previous 4 years of activities and events to kind of get some ideas from your other agencies, or you can reach out to one of the mobility managers if you have additional questions. So like I said, that's coming up pretty quick. We have about 30 days to get organized. We'd really like to increase both the number of events and activities that we have, as well as the number of counties that are participating. So hopefully you can help us reach those goals. So that is all of the information that I have on Mobility Week. You're welcome to reach out to me, like I said, through the Kansas Rides website. You can also shoot me an email. You can work with your local mobility manager. Are there any questions, or is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to talk more about?
Well, thank you, Michelle, for all of that information. It's really fun to see what everybody's doing across the state and how this event grows each year. I think you're doing a fantastic job of promoting it, and just really seeing it expand from year to year. So it's really cool to see the communities come together for this week. I do want to mention that this is being recorded. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to post the link to our channel in the chat. So if you thought this information was super helpful, I know I did, you can share it to your social media pages just to help spread the word. I know it can be intimidating when people ask you to participate and get involved. So I think this webinar did an excellent job of just showcasing how it's not to, you shouldn't feel pressured to do anything, but it's a really cool initiative. And it doesn't have to be super big to be involved. So thanks for all that information, Michelle. We'll do one more call for questions.
You're welcome.
All right. Not hearing any other questions. if you do think of something later, Michelle's got her email address listed there. You can also reach out to RTAP and we will get you in touch with the right people and help however we can. But thank you all for joining today. And again, thank you to Michelle for putting all of this information together to promote the Kansas Mobility Week. All right. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.